In 2019, my husband and I renovated our whole house, and Carolyn decided that it looked like so much fun she would do it too. While the end result has been amazing, the road to get here was a little bumpy. So we decided, why not share some of the home renovation tips we picked up along the way? Some we knew before, and others we learned the hard way. So kick back, relax, and hopefully we can save you a few home reno headaches. If this is your first time here, welcome. If you've been here before, thank you so much for coming back and for spending your time with me. I'm Lindsay, a proud Anthem resident and your local realtor with the Wise Move AZ team at Realty One Group. On this channel, we have a lot of fun talking about all things Anthem and real estate every single Thursday, and we absolutely love having you along for the ride. When it comes to navigating a successful home renovation, there are two things you need to have. Number one, a plan. And number two, a sense of humor. Seriously, renovating your home will frustrate you in ways you never thought possible. And you'll learn about things you had absolutely no interest in whatsoever. I mean, we're talking conversations that span several days about the proper sizing of a shower drain. Not exactly riveting stuff, but in the moment you get so invested. Anyways, you'll need that sense of humor and roll with it attitude when things inevitably veer off plan. My hope with this video is that we can save you a couple of trips off course. I can't promise that your renovation will go smoothly because I'm not even convinced that that's really possible, but I hope that you enjoy the ride as much as we have and that the end result is more than you ever imagined. Pitfall number one, spending too much or too little time at home. What? Yep. You heard that right. You need to find the perfect balance of time spent at home and time spent away from home during your renovation projects. For our whole house renovation, there was no way that we could live in the house while the work was being done. I mean, there were weeks without toilets. If you're doing a whole house renovation and you can stay with family or friends or even rent something in the interim, do it. Trying to live through all the dust and noise will probably shorten your lifespan. On the other end of the spectrum, I don't want you to schedule all of your contractors and then go lay on the beach in Mexico for a month while they work. No way. Even if you're hiring out all of the work, I feel strongly that you need to be there to check on the house every day. In fact, when we were renovating our house, we were often over there several times a day. You need to make sure that everything is going according to plan and budget. If you see something that looks off, say something right away. During Carolyn's renovation, she noticed one day that they had drywalled in the niche in the shower. It was supposed to stay. Anyways, because Carolyn noticed it right away and said something, they were able to correct it quickly. If she hadn't said anything or had waited until the tile work had started, it would have been a much bigger headache for everyone involved. Pitfall number two, not getting multiple quotes. I know that it's hard to find good contractors that you can trust with your home, but it's really important that you get multiple estimates before starting a project. It helps to keep everyone honest, and it can help to compare the services one contractor offers over another. I found that comparing quotes from different contractors prompted me to ask questions that I wouldn't have otherwise thought of. You're rarely comparing apples to apples. I'm definitely not saying that you should choose the cheapest quote every time either. I am a firm believer in you get what you pay for. Anyways, even though it's a pain, try to get more than one quote for each project. Pitfall number three, not building a budget or a timeline. Did you catch that? You need a budget and a timeline. Otherwise, this thing is going to go on forever and cost you a fortune. I want you to be realistic in building both, which means talking to contractors, getting quotes, and understanding their availability. I think we all have champagne taste when it comes to home renovations. Seriously, we're so spoiled by HGTV and Pinterest. But if you're like me, you're also more than likely on that beer budget. You may need to rein in those expectations. Spend only what you can realistically afford and what you're comfortable with. With respect to your timeline, you need to look at the order in which projects need to be completed. I'll touch on that a bit more later on. Once you have your order, you need to determine when each contractor can start, if they can work simultaneously, and how long they'll need to complete their portion of the work. I recommend mapping it out and setting calendar reminders so that you can confirm that you're still on track. In addition to mapping out contractors, you need to understand what supplies they need you to have on hand at what point. For example, if you're redoing your master bathroom, find out when they need the shower fixtures and so on. Sometimes you can't Amazon Prime everything you need for your renovation and you'll be held up because of shipping delays. Map it all out. Pitfall number 4, doing too little. We've had a lot of fun doing little projects around the house, but when it comes to renovations, I recommend going a bit bigger. For example, if you want to do the floors, but you know they're really not going to go with the countertops, and you should really consider painting the cabinets and so on, I recommend that you wait and save up and do it all at once. The satisfaction and wow factor of getting it all done feels so much better, and you're not living in a state of limbo. Save up and save your sanity by doing as much as you can at once. Pitfall number 5, not communicating clearly. When it comes to your renovations, you need to be clear about what you want, and then you need to communicate that to your contractors clearly. Personally, I like to use photos and talk about it while in the house. That way we have the area in question in front of us. This is because I'm not a construction expert and I don't have all the professional lingo down pat. So when I very technically refer to the wooden thingy at the bottom of the cabinets, they know that I'm referring to the kick plate and can make much more professional notes. They're the experts and I want to lean on their experience, but I also want to make sure that we're all on the same page. This is especially important when it comes to decorative elements of the renovation because we all have unique taste. For example, at our house, we took a unique approach to our door frames. If we had said nothing, our contractors probably would have assumed that we wanted standard mitered corners. Anyways, communicate often, openly, and ask lots of questions. Pitfall number 6, DIYing too much. Can I just say I definitely married up in the DIY department? My husband is so insanely skilled when it comes to projects around the house, I don't even know how he does it. But even he would be the first to say that just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something when it comes to your home renovation. For example, we could have painted our own home, but when we took a look at what we could get done in that amount of time and how much it would cost to hire someone to do the painting, it just made sense for us to hire that part out. When deciding what you're going to DIY versus hire out, I want you to think about your time, the cost to do it yourself, the cost to hire it out, and the quality of work. In many cases, contractors can get the supplies for less money, or they can source higher quality products. Additionally, I don't want you to bite off more than you can chew. Renovations are a lot of work even if you hire most of it out. Take on only the pieces you really enjoy and can do well. You want to be proud of the end result without feeling too burned out. Instead of painting our house, we opted to lay the flooring instead. The cost savings of tackling this project ourselves was much greater than the painting we hired out. Pitfall number 7, overlooking the value of a general contractor. A general contractor is someone who oversees the day-to-day aspects of the project and manages all of the other contractors on site. They're basically an angel if you're about as construction savvy as I am. Thankfully for us, because of his background, my husband was able to act as our general contractor. If you have limited experience with home renovations, or if you simply don't have the time to manage the project every single day, I strongly recommend that you consider hiring a general contractor. This way, you're communicating with one person and they are laser focused on bringing your dreams to life. They're also going to be an expert when it comes to planning the order and what contractors to hire. They'll be able to fix issues before you even knew you had a problem. For example, at our house, I had my heart set on a waterfall counter because Pinterest. Thanks to our general contractor, he was able to work through all of the structural components that were needed to make it possible, and those were things I never would have thought about. Anyways, long story short, make sure that there's someone who knows what they're doing at the helm of the ship. It will save a lot of headache. Pitfall number 8, not protecting your personal items. Renovations create dust like you wouldn't believe. Seriously, I thought we might never get out from under all of the dust. This is particularly true if you're doing tile removal. Even if you do dustless tile removal, spoiler alert, it's not completely dustless. Remove as many of your personal items from the home before you start your project as you possibly can. I'm telling you, dust will get into every nook and cranny. It's like sand at the beach. For the things you can't remove, like furniture, consider moving it all into one space if possible and covering it tightly with plastic sheeting. The plastic sheeting isn't expensive and you'll be so glad that you did it in the end. Not only does it protect from dust, but also from errant paint splatters and so on. Pitfall number 9, being a bad neighbor. Nobody wants to be a bad neighbor. Will your renovation impact your neighbors? If so, go and talk to them beforehand. A little heads up can go a long way. In addition, you need to think about any rules or laws that you need to abide by before starting your project. Are there HOA rules that you need to consider? For example, in Anthem Country Club, you can't have contractors working on non-emergency projects on Sundays or holidays. Are there city bylaws that come into play? What about building codes and permits? Your contractors will be able to help with this, but they're definitely things you'll want to consider beforehand. When Carolyn was doing her renovation, they realized at the last minute that they needed a permit to put a dumpster on the driveway. Thankfully, they were able to get it really quickly, but the more last-minute panics you can avoid, the better. Pitfall number 10, assuming that it makes more sense to renovate than to move. This should really be one of your first steps. We all get caught up in the beautiful remodels we see on TV and online, but does it really make sense to do all the work to your home, or could you buy an already upgraded home and come out the same financially? This one is going to require some serious math and probably the help of a realtor in your area, but bear with me. Here in Anthem, we don't always see the return on investment when people do extensive remodels. Could you sell your current home, taking into account all of the costs associated with that, and buy either an already updated home or even a new home and come out the same? For us, the answer was no. We bought a real fixer-upper, and my husband was able to do a lot of the work himself, which helped to keep our renovation costs down. The other perk of doing all of the renovations ourselves versus buying a home that was already upgraded is that we could pick everything to our taste. Anyways, the same may not be true for you, and it's definitely worth having this tough conversation before you take a sledgehammer to the master shower. So, there you have it. What do you think? Has this video helped to guide your renovation process? I would love to hear any other tips or horror stories that you may have. We are all learning here, so let's help each other out. If you found this video helpful, let me know by hitting that like button, subscribing to our channel, and leaving me a comment. If you're on a bit of a DIY kick but don't want to do a whole house renovation, you may want to click and watch this video up top where we share some of our favorite DIY home projects. Or if you're looking for ways to save energy and increase your efficiency at home, you may want to click and watch this video on the bottom. Enjoy those, and I'll see you next Thursday.